We are live. I'm Juan.
Which was, you never see it, you never know. And thank God, got it behind. And serious stuff, you know? Okay? She's had that where it's actually, very small. I said, you know. Yes. Good luck. No, I don't.
But it's so.
I know, Victor.
I feel very lonely at my table.
You're just thinking about numbers. Wait a minute, this doesn't come for this.
He's not here.
So there you go, you can move over and you don't even have to.
They put Chris down.
Oh, no, I just saw Chris, I'm thinking Chris Powell. Chris, so.
I had to hear it.
The rest of the year.
He's
He's hit all his extra points.
He's a mole.
I thought you said you're old.
But anyway, you know,
All right, let's get started, because I think we're.
But you know what this is?
streaming. We are.
It's history.
Can everyone rise for the pledge of allegiance?
Joe, how we doing? How we doing?
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Either you want to do intro or I can do intro, either way. Your pleasure, Madam President.
Okay, so, the district has goals, and over the last year, we had, a goals committee to,
Can I just, is anyone streaming? Because if so, they're never gonna hear you without the mic.
Joe's let us know, so we'll know.
Joe, can you hear us? Can you hear Joe?
Yes.
Okay.
So, so over the last year, there was a process where there was, goals workshops, and different groups met and came up with suggestions to update the goals. And Denise sent out an email that has the new goals, that, was the compilation of the discussions that, the groups at the workshop suggested. So, I guess our task as a board is to determine whether we're going to adopt these goals as the district goals.
So, again, I think the board has the opportunity to review the goals. The board can wordsmith the goals. The board could ask for additional input from our school community to wordsmith or to revise or add to the goals. So again, I think our central office's goal was to provide the district and the board with a draft of what we took from the two goals meetings and present that to the board for their discussion in terms of how to move forward. And again, with a clean piece of paper to move forward.
Mr. Superintendent, could you explain what the implications are of whatever goals we achieve? Like, we're gonna have these goals, and then how does that filter down into anything that you do, or we do, or anyone in the district does?
Obviously, once the goals are finalized, there would be, district-wide discussion or, I guess, district-wide discussion in terms of again, goal statements, philosophy statements that would guide our decision-making, our future decision-making.
But there's no legal implication like a policy?
No, there's not. This is not policy unless the board decides to make this policy, but this is not, the recommendation is not to put this as policy. And again, think of it, at least, I think we're thinking of it in terms of a goal statement, almost a statement of philosophy. What do we value in the Jericho school community? as a follow-up to that, Sam, if you look, for example, look at goal 1, what might be some recommendations for specific activities that relate to goal 1? And again, that's something that the board could deal with, or the board could then say, we're looking for input in terms of, let's talk about goal 1, we adopt or accept goal 1, let's talk about some activities, or look for some suggestions for some activities that support goal 1.
So, following up on that, the original goals that currently exist have a goal and then there's some sentences underneath. So when I asked the question, just to repeat that these goals don't have any like descriptors or, actions underneath. So I was told that those actions underneath were merged into the actual goals. So there aren't gonna be sentences underneath the way they are now unless we wanna add something.
And again, I think it makes sense for us, once we have goal statements, to then talk about specific activities that would support the goals or recommendations.
As we talked about, these were written by central office based on feedback that you got from the 3 goals workshops.
Based upon the written documentation that we received from each of the groups, we, in central office, we wordsmith the information we had and tried to put it as succinctly as we could into goal statements. That would at least give the board an opportunity to work from.
So we're all in agreement at this point, not that most of these goals that we have are things that we're currently already striving for. We're not sort of saying, we've got to change our focus. These would be consistent with generally what you show up every day at work trying to achieve.
Agreed. Yeah. Aspirational goals.
I know we talked a lot about some of these things, goals 1, 2, 3, and 5. 4, while very important in and of its own right, I think there's duplicate language with some of these other goals. I'm just, I guess, wondering why that needs to be a distinct goal and not incorporated into some of these other goals.
Very well could be.
1 and 5?
No, number 4.
I think the purpose of goal 4 was to highlight, something that's actually specifically going on in our community. And, I think the purpose of this was to have this as a separate goal because it's something that's kind of stands alone. Maybe, some of it's repetitive, but I think the concept of it, maybe if it's worded differently, is a significant.
Like maybe even putting, if the point is to have encouraging purposeful communication and dialogue, incorporating that into the part of goal 5 as a means to unifying the diverse culture, rather than making it a separate goal all by itself.
Right, I can see that. Combine 4 and 5.
So also, I don't know if I'm jumping ahead, but,
We're at the end.
well, I don't know if they were finished their statement, but during the 3 workshops, it was repeated, I think, throughout almost all the groups touched upon it at some point, and in my own group, it was discussed a lot, stress. And I don't see that anywhere here. I know that we had the previous goal, educate the whole child through, social emotional learning initiatives, which, balance or whatever. And then now we have, to educate the individual child to have the skills and strategies to be resilient and strive to live an emotionally balanced life. But I feel like it's still not strong enough language to say, we see that there is a lot of stress, and a lot of the stress is brought on by the students themselves. There's a student culture that they strive to be the best, and there's a lot of pressure. Our goal is to alleviate that pressure, and I don't see that in any of the language here. And I feel like that was probably talked about the most. So I I would love to put either edit or create a separate goal altogether, but I feel like it's a point that has to be stressed.
So you wanna maybe add something, reduce stress to number 3, something like that.
Is that part of emotionally balanced? Not to say that it'll be stressless, but means to manage stress. Lectures on managing stress, stress relief, activities.
Well, I think it's,
Well,
might
that's like
might be
the
more
groups.
than that, that's the activities, but it's also, I mean, we're talking about implementation, but it's also maybe come up with things in the schedule, things that,
Well,
some
whatever-
systemic things that could
Yeah,
reduce stress,
whatever-
not just
Whatever,
general stress.
whatever the board comes up with, or other, the outside, groups come up with at some point, central administration, but I feel like it should be written in a manner that we're saying that we would like to strive to alleviate this pressure that a lot of the students, experience, that they bring upon themselves. And not so much because the teacher is putting the pressure on the child, but the child has the pressure themselves because they wanna be an overachiever, and I think it's a great thing, but it's also, not. So how do we put that in language?
I think you just add, if that's what you wanna add, you add something after the resilient part to say what you're resilient against, and then just sort of
You say,
call it
like,
a day.
focus on, or just
Yeah,
add the concept
resilience
of stress.
against the, what do you wanna call it, self-created, or, but you're never gonna alleviate it, you can look to minimize it, but
Well,
really it's how to deal with it, you don't wanna
reduce.
do, but something you wanna reduce it, I don't think you wanna reduce it, 'cause I don't think we can reduce it, I think you teach them how to deal with it. Manage.
Well, but that already says that, is to educate the child to have the skills and strategies to be resilient to stress, we're already saying that. I'm
So you're talking like
saying,
some
I'm
systemic
saying
concept.
reduce.
But I don't
I'm
think we
saying,
can
how
do
can
that.
we teach them
Well, I
to
mean,
reduce within themselves?
We have tried to do things
That
like
if they get a B
adding-
instead of an A,
adding lunch in
it's
spring
okay.
break. There are like systemic things that we can add that could possibly serve to reduce stress. Adding the nest days. So those
Oh my
are
God.
things,
Wrong rabbit hole.
you want me to?
kill it.
Oh, jeez, you're on camera, don't
It's
you?
gonna stink.
Oh, it's a bug? Oh,
It's like a B or.
this is why you elect men to the board. Oh, you slow down.
Okay, or whatever that was.
Where's-
I would kill the bug, I just
You
don't think it's.
stared at it for
nice.
so long.
Yeah, watch out.
I'm not scared to kill the bug. I
No.
just-
There you go.
I think you came from the nest.
All right,
Alright, just won't die.
he's dead, he's dead. Yeah, he's dead.
Can we do a close-up of the?
You can, it's distinct.
I hope it dawned on us.
This is gonna be on, I don't know what forums.
How about the nest program? I was like, okay, we can go down that.
I wasn't sure,
So we want to add a sentence to goal number 3.
Sam, you and I are gonna do this one.
That you get the
I'm
instruction.
sure. It's the most productive thing we've done in the last.
Additionally,
Bring it to the science lab so they can do it.
He's pretty dissected.
a couple of new sentences.
And reduce, focusing on reducing stress, something like that.
Okay, one,
Resilient, trauma,
was
focus
good,
on
right?
stress management to strive to eliminate.
No, but I think it's not, I think what Jen was saying is not management, because that's built into the
Right,
resilience.
right.
I agree with you.
to
It's-
educate the individual child to have the skills and strategies to be resilient.
I don't think we as a district can eradicate it, because I think in all our conversations, we talk about it itself from the kids, it comes from the parents, it comes from outside.
I agree, definitely can't eradicate
But
it.
I,
How do we
again,
reduce?
I think it makes sense, however, it is an area of concern, so I think it does make sense to have stress in there.
Right, but it's a concept of manage versus reduce, and manage stress.
Right,
for all
manage is
things
like,
resilient.
yeah, I know I'm gonna have, anxiety tomorrow in school, I'll deal with it.
Meditate.
I'll deal, that's not what I'm talking about, I'm talking about how do we take the stress so they don't even have to deal with it at certain points. I understand it's not eradicated, fully aware of that.
Oh, no, I wasn't saying right, but I'm saying like, the stress, look, the stress, we're, as from my perspective, the school is a bystander in this, like, we create the opportunity, the stress comes, as you said, from the kid, from the parent, I don't think there are teachers there beating the kids up saying you have to, I mean, yes, they're encouraging them to do better, but that stress isn't, from our standpoint, I don't think we can alleviate it, we can even minimize it, because at the end of the day, we're not, I don't think the district creates it, I think the environment creates it, and they have to be able to deal with it. But I understand what you're saying, I guess there's something.
So even, Sam and I think, we're on the same page in terms of where the stress comes from, but it still is not bad to mention in a goal statement to whatever the school can do to help mitigate the amount.
Absolutely,
So somehow working in there, acknowledging stress and again, strategies to mitigate the impact of stress on our kids.
Sure.
Acknowledge and identify the stressors so that we can mitigate.
Take notes.
Do we wanna go through all of them that way, or like, are you okay?
No, I just had a specific
I
one
think we
that
should
way.
start off with number one, I mean, we've gone through most of them, but
I think 1 and 5 overlap, but.
It's like 4 and 5.
what is an enhanced experience when it was being written? I don't know what that means. For number one, I understand a diverse experience, I'm not sure I understand an enhanced experience.
The word enhance is in the prior goal, I wonder if that came from the prior language on
again,
the goal, I don't know if
I
that's where they got that language.
Yeah, I'm not sure it significantly changes it if we took the word enhanced out. Foster
There
learning
must have been-
community
there
to
must have
provide
been
diverse.
reason for it. But it's not just diverse, I think there was a,
No, the prior goal, it talked about an enhanced curriculum, so I'm not sure what, it's now modified.
broad, challenging, the one said the broad, challenging, and engaging curriculum.
I mean, you can
Maybe
just
one
change
of those
to,
words is better.
to foster diverse learning community by providing a broad, challenging, and engaging curriculum to meet the needs of all students. And you just make it shorter and cleaner.
Like that.
Okay. Say again?
To foster a diverse learning community by offering,
Oh, so you're moving the word diverse.
yes, by offering a broad, challenging, and engaging curriculum to meet the needs of all students.
Yeah, me too.
By
And your,
I got it.
Yeah.
Please.
Foster a diverse learning
Between the two of us.
Got it together. I don't have, we're gonna take.
Oh, jeez.
Wait, so to foster a diverse
Marty,
learning
you got it?
community by offering a broad, challenging, engaging curriculum?
Yes,
Okay, I got it.
that was the idea. I mean, I'm not possessive of specific words.
It's more succinct and encompassing.
I had to look it up, what a global citizen meant, and there's lots of different definitions of what a global citizen meant. I don't know where those words specifically came from, if there was an intention with those words. I personally, once I understood what it meant, I don't have most of a problem with it.
In a lot of the groups.
Yeah, a lot of groups mentioned that specifically.
and it's fairly common, Sam, it's a common term that you'll see.
It has some political implications. Again, not as a core to it, sort of as the global citizen is A, B, C. Once you get to D, it talks about environmentally responsible, things like that, which I think we should all be environmentally responsible.
I don't see that as
But,
political.
when,
I mean,
I-
what is synonym of that, worldly citizens? It's just a.
no, I like global citizen, I just don't know if the meaning was meant as the meaning of, or is it just sort of, was it meant as what, if you Google global citizen, is that what we meant it to be, or global citizen in a much less specific way, like we
So
call
I
global
thought
citizens?
in a very broad, general.
Okay.
It actually looks, I'm just looking at the definition here, I mean, this I'm getting from Wikipedia, obviously we could go
Yeah,
for something
I
a little
looked
more
at that one
formal.
too.
Okay.
But global citizenship is the idea that one's identity transcends geography or political borders, and that responsibilities or rights are derived from membership in a broader class, humanity. So I think it's actually, in my opinion, I think it's relatively apolitical. I think we just want people to be the best human beings that they can be.
Yeah, no, hold on, I agree, I don't mind it, I'm
Yeah,
just.
I actually
There are
like
people
it,
who might
yeah.
be bothered by it, I'm not.
I-
Once I knew what it was, I usually like doing goals with things that,
No, but I think if
You know
we're
what it
in
is.
front of it and listen, we just want people to be, good human beings and be their best selves.
sure. So, no comments on number 2, other comments? At this point?
Yeah.
Dr. Balachandra, did you have some way to combine 4 and 5, or was it just a concept? And we'll come back to your number 3, Mrs. Marco. No, we should, if we have time, we might as well draft it. I didn't mean to put you on the spot, Dr. Balachandra. I didn't know if you had something in mind. No whispering. Eyes on your own paper.
What if we, I think I can work on combining 4 and 5, but in terms of like moving, enhancing educational partnerships to goal 1 as a way of creating this diverse learning community and enhancing the experience of students.
I like that.
So we can take that part out and then we can combine goals 4 and 5.
So read what the rewritten goal 1 would be, Vivian?
What do you want, let me read
We're
it,
gonna
because I
add
have
enhanced
I
educational
wrote down what
partnerships.
the changes. To foster a diverse learning community by offering a broad, challenging, and engaging curriculum to meet the needs of all students and enhance educational
And
partnerships.
to enhance,
Educational
Yeah.
partnerships, is that?
Number
That
1.
doesn't go there.
And engaging, and going back to goal 1, a broad, challenging, and engaging curriculum, as well as enhanced educational partnerships, comma, to meet the needs of all students.
great.
And then
I have some language too for 4, 5, if you wanna combine.
Oh, I have.
So, let me just go back. So, goal 5 is to unify the diverse cultures within the community at large in a manner that respects differences and encourages collaboration by encouraging communication using purposeful dialogue through compassion and empathy to unite the school community.
Yep, that's fine.
I was actually gonna flip it.
Basically, I did 5 first, and then I tacked on 4 at that.
Okay, read that again.
So 5, the way it is, and then after encourages collaboration, you add on by encouraging communication using purposeful dialogue through compassion and empathy, etc.
I have an alternate suggestion. To cultivate and encourage communication using purposeful dialogue through compassion and empathy to unify the diverse cultures within the community at large in a manner that respects differences and encourages collaboration.
But I think that the goal is to unify and.
I know it says to unify.
Right, so, but I mean, like, if we are looking to combine, I feel like the ultimate goal between 4 and 5, if you had to combine them, is to unify, and so we're gonna unify by encouraging communication. That's why I did it that way, but, what do you guys think? Yeah, I mean, it makes sense.
Work.
You got that, Dr. Tufo, you'll make the final decision?
Can I ask a question? If you're going with Jens, you're just using the word encourage, and encourage is right next to each other. respects differences and encourages collaboration by encouraging communication, use
So to,
By promoting.
so to
maybe
unify
just
the
another
diverse
word.
cultures within the
Yeah.
community at large,
Yeah,
in a manner
okay,
that respects
okay,
differences and
okay,
encourages
yeah.
collaboration,
Everybody
right,
promoting.
by,
encouraging, so maybe just another word on for one of those
Yes.
encouraging.
by collaborating and encouraging communication?
Encouraging again.
Well,
Why not
just
say
cultivate and
through?
encourage collaboration and communication.
Yeah.
Just say
Yep.
through
Yeah.
compassionate.
So we're gonna encourage collaboration and communication through useful dialogue.
And what do you have?
Nothing yet.
This is what I have, to unify the diverse cultures within the community at large in a manner that respects differences and encourages collaboration and communication using purposeful dialogue through compassion and empathy to unite the school community and enhance educational partnerships.
That's it.
That's really what
Didn't we
Took
move
out-
educational
No.
partnerships
Oh,
to
you took
one?
the end?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. Yeah,
Talking
so
too
No,
much.
but,
just,
no, but Denise, I don't think you wanna say unite the school community again, but you said that first, so you don't need to take that out.
Are you
To
using the
unify the diverse
microphone?
cultures.
Denise,
sorry,
microphone? You good?
Joe's gonna tell us if you don't.
do
Okay,
you want them to turn it on? There was some background noise before, it was tough.
just
here. I
checking.
think we're good.
So why don't you read
I
again?
think
Yeah.
this is to unify the diverse cultures within the community at large in a manner that respects differences and encourages collaboration and communication using purposeful dialogue through compassion and empathy.
Done, at the end of that.
Okay, someone's gonna have to cut some words out of it.
Why don't you just say it encourages collaboration through compassionate and empathetic communication?
Say 5 times fast.
I'm just trying to cut down on words.
I think the word purposeful they wanted there.
Purposeful and empathetic.
Okay, please just get lost.
That's all right.
To unify the diverse cultures within the community at large in a manner that respects differences and encourages collaboration and communication using purposeful dialogue through compassion and empathy. Purposeful, compassionate, and empathetic dialogue.
Can you have dialogue through compassion? and
No, so
empathy?
say purposeful, compassionate, and empathetic dialogue.
Purposeful, yeah, compassion and empathetic.
Can we take out at large if we're really gonna get down to words? What
Yeah.
does at large deal with
Yeah.
versus just
Yeah.
community?
Yeah. With communities, this community, so.
And really, the dialogue really wasn't compassionate and empathetic, it was the dialogue using compassion and empathy, so we switched that, which is fine. But it's a different meaning, you know? It's okay.
I just don't think I have dialogue through compassion and empathy. I don't care about compassion and empathy, as everyone knows, so I'm gonna tell you, it's just like whatever dialogue.
Purposeful,
Purpose dialogue's fine with me,
compassionate,
believe me.
purposeful, compassionate, and empathetic dialogue, right? That's what I said.
Yeah, I mean,
Do you want me to read it again?
Yes.
To unify the diverse cultures within the community in a manner that respects differences and encourages collaboration and
Communication.
communication using purposeful, compassionate, and empathetic dialogue.
Yes, please?
Yeah, I have the same thing.
Good.
Okay, so now we need to go back to 3 and add something about acknowledging, mitigating, reducing
So
stress
we
somewhere.
made 0 changes at this
We
point,
have-
right? We
we
made
have-
some suggestions, yeah.
Please?
No, yeah.
Denise has it, so she can read it.
Which one? No, I have just,
3.
I have, no, I don't have.
No, we didn't change
We
it.
didn't make any changes.
The only language that you had said for 3 was that you want to acknowledge and identify stressors and to mitigate
Correct.
stress. That's
Correct.
But you
That's-
didn't
I
add
have-
anywhere for that
Correct.
is what Jen
I have
said.
acknowledged and identified the stresses that students experience and develop strategies to mitigate these stressors.
Yeah.
Something like that,
Something like
Yeah,
that.
okay?
so to educate the individual child to have the skills and strategies to be resilient and strive to live an emotionally balanced life by identifying,
And acknowledging
Well,
the
not by
stresses that
and, I
students
think,
experience.
that's not the only reason for that.
what do you mean?
It's not just to reduce, like, it's and, not
Yeah, but
and.
we wanna reduce,
Or including.
so, okay, let's read it again.
So I have acknowledged and identified the stressors that students experience and develop strategies to mitigate these stressors? No?
I don't think you should
I'm not
use-
writing it down.
I don't think you should use stressors twice.
No?
So to educate the individual child to have the skills and strategies to be resilient and strive to live an emotionally balanced life
And
And,
okay, fine, I understand what you're saying, and identify,
You had originally said you want to acknowledge and identify.
acknowledge and identify the stressors.
that students experience.
Why don't you state it
And
that
find
way,
ways.
to educate the individual child to identify and minimize the stressors and to have the strategies to be resilient and strive to live an emotionally balanced life. So if you start adding at the end, then you just.
Okay,
end up
so
with
say
like a-
again,
It was something like to educate the individual child to identify and minimize, whatever word you wanted to use.
to educate the individual child to help them identify,
Well, educate them is, so educate the individual child to identify, how
identify,
to identify and to have the skills. I don't,
But what you're
I
saying is
think-
that you want the child to identify themselves. What
Right.
Jenna's saying is that she wants
us
the
districts.
district to
They're
identify
very different.
what's, yes, what's causing the stress and help mitigate it.
I think those would have to be two separate goals then. I think
Really?
one is educating the child, and another thing is doing.
No, but we want to, so we want to find what's causing the stress and then mitigate it by educating the child.
Oh, so that you wanna put it at the beginning, so to identify and minimize whatever words we're using about stress, and to educate the individual child, and educate the individual child to have skills and strategies to be resilient.
Correct. I mean,
But I don't think that's the
That's a
actual concept of, that like makes the whole the whole goal being about stress, which it's not, that's a part of the goal.
But
So-
say-
but it is,
But you also
But
talk about,
to
No,
be
it's not,
resilient
though.
against
Right, but not just stress.
and to have a balanced life, but, I mean, I think that's the underlying,
Well, it's
Message here.
one piece of it, but if you just say stress in the first part, then you're
Okay,
saying the
so-
whole goal is about
so-
stress.
Actually, it is that-
so then let's go back to 3 plus adding the thing at the end.
And
Okay,
identify,
This one you have, I think, and identify, you still want to acknowledge or not?
I don't think we need to.
Okay, acknowledge.
okay, let's just not include it, let's just see how it sounds. Go ahead, Denise, ma'am.
Emotionally balanced life and identify stressors,
Is that a word?
student stress, and then you have mitigate, you never finished it.
To identify student stress and help mitigate.
How many have shown up?
Denise, are you ready?
So not acknowledge, just identify.
yeah, so if you say identify, student stress, okay, and develop, strategies to mitigate. So you're identifying the student stress, and then you're gonna either mitigate or develop strategies to mitigate. that. You wanna say stressor again, that's fine.
You don't need to say stress twice, you can say identify and
Identify the student stressors, no?
Student stress and develop strategies to mitigate.
there.
To mitigate.
thereof. The mitigation thereof. Sorry, that's legal.
Sounds very legal, but it's up to you guys, I'm just writing it down.
No, thank you. We haven't heard cookies yet, we haven't finished 5 minutes.
Or you could say, how about this, identify, what do we say, identify student stress, okay? And develop mitigating strategies.
That's all, you end of the sentence, right?
Well, I'm just saying, that's,
Yes, I like that.
in order to mitigate, you say
Yes.
mitigating strategies.
I like it.
Do we actually need to say identify?
Yes.
We can
Yeah,
just say
we have
and
to-
mitigate,
No, because
mitigate, mitigate stressors and mitigate factors that cause stress.
today, we don't, I mean, we may know what certain stressors are,
Make sense?
but I think the school needs to strive to continue to identify where improvement can happen. And so we do need to identify.
So you're gonna
I know, I just
identify,
think
and
that
you're
would
gonna
be subsumed
develop
in it.
mitigating
But
strategies.
you can't mitigate it if you don't know what it is, so you have to identify it to mitigate it.
What are you saying?
No, I'm saying I don't think you need to have the word identify there, because it's like you obviously have to identify it if you want to mitigate it.
I feel sounds like you need another word, like what would it be then if you didn't?
Yeah, I think
identify?
you need the word, because then we need a
You
different
can
word.
say recognize student stress, but I mean, it's still
Acknowledge before.
Knowledge.
knowledge
and pride.
and develop mitigating strategies.
You won't be long.
It's not as long as you think.
Michael Scott, what do you say?
So we're toying with identifying and acknowledging or some other, right? That's what we're talking about?
Identify,
I can't say that.
identify the
So-
causes of student stress and aim to, and be,
Then, I'm sorry, can you just read again what you had before?
Here's with, here's with.
So the first sentence is fine, okay?
Yes.
And we said, identify student stress and develop mitigating strategies. Or you can say, identifying the causes of student stress and develop mitigating strategies.
I mean, I like it, where you're saying it.
Yeah.
So you're saying at the end of the sentence three, goal three, right, and identify? Not by identifying,
No,
and identify. And
And
identify
identify the causes of student stress and develop mitigating
the
strategies,
causes of student stress.
if that makes sense.
Causes
that works.
of student stress. Okay.
Yes, got it?
Yeah.
Good.
And develop mitigating strategies,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
So you guys will revise these goals and then recirculate it to us?
Yes, and then we could recirculate it publicly as well.
And then we would put it on the agenda for like,
Continued conversation and feedback from people who are on the committee, as well as general public.
Okay.
so we'll put it, maybe we'll put it on the November, I don't know what, we don't have too much else on that, we can put it on the November.
We will circulate it, put it on November agenda. We'll circulate it beforehand and ask for feedback from members of the goals committee, as well as any member of the school community.
Just to be clear, we're not putting a burden on you by creating all these new goals. This will be relatively consistent with what we've been doing. I don't want to create more work
I'm
for
a
you.
little concerned. Sam.
Okay, which one's giving you concern? Because we'll just cut that goal.
Well, the afternoon naps are taking a little longer than they used to.
Come on.
There are some who would say that's not being facetious by you, but I don't know.
You don't know?
I certainly don't
Sam.
know how hard you work, so I would never think that was facetious. Anyway, are we now done with our goals, which was the only thing on our agenda? We've got 13 minutes remaining.
Yes, we are good.
Can we just, two things, one, when is our student representative going to be participating in our meetings?
Next Thursday.
At the October meeting?
And have we sent out initial emails or letters for our recertification process for our 6th and 9th graders?
I believe you began that process, yeah. I believe Joe did.
So can we confirm that for next Thursday, that someone's actually
I'll
got an
get you-
email
I'll
or a
get you
letter?
an update. Yep.
And given that we have 12 minutes left, and unless anyone has any other topic,
Let me see, hold on.
do we have any update on our DEI committee? Have we-
Subcommittees and committee or?
Anything, any DEI update?
Any DEI update? We will update, at our first meeting, which was kind of an introductory meeting. I would assume that we'll have some information to update the public, and the board either at the November or December board meetings, depending upon how much work we have between now and then.
Was the meeting well attended?
Everyone who was invited except one person who had a conflict could not attend. The feedback from the first meeting was incredibly positive from all the attendees, both at the meeting, at the conclusion of the meeting, and subsequent emails that we received afterward.
Great.
That's what we said.
Yeah, just there, the people that were picked from outside the people who applied, but really great and diverse experience and, you know, professionally working DEI areas in their field. So there's a lot of really good information that people can contribute.
There wasn't that many people then. There was like two. I mean, the committee is more, but it
So
was,
the people that were picked outside, you
I
know,
think,
the-
outside
yeah,
committee.
I think we added 5.
was it five
I think
outside?
we added 5 to the committee, and very frankly, the background and experience of many, if not, you know, the vast majority, in terms of specific experiences around DEI was incredibly impressive.
That's why they should give a majority. Let's go give out some honor society awards or recognition. Oh, wait, we get the public to speak? We've got standing room only here, so someone must have something to say. Guess not. All good.
thank you for whoever came to the Zoom part of it, thank you, thanks for coming in person.
How many did we have? Oh, 3? Wow. 3?